Japan's connection to the art of tea making is intrinsic. Few art forms are as iconic of the land of the rising sun as the tea ceremony. This 1,000-year-old practice evolved over the ages from a Zen Buddhist ritual practiced by the warrior class to a symbol of feminist emancipation in post-war Japan. Welcome to a journey through the serene and intricate world of the Japanese tea ceremony, also known as Chado in Japanese. On this episode, I will explore the history and cultural significance of this timeless tradition. I will also share the most famous destinations in Japan for tea and where you can partake in a tea ceremony on your next trip. Finally, I will go over some of the codes to respect during your lesson. The tea ceremony, or Chado, was imported to Japan in the 11th century by a Chinese monk called Yosai. Originally an activity exclusively for men, Chado started as a Buddhist meditation practice in the monasteries. By the 1600s, its practice had spread from the monasteries to the court, the military, and the wealthy upper-class merchants. The most influential figure in the history of the Japanese tea ceremony is Sen no Rikyu, who lived in the 16th century. Its practice and ideological basis were established during this period by three main tea masters, Murata Shuko, Takenoju, and Sen no Rikyu. The latter perfected the art and established the foundational principles of tea ceremony. From then on, the tea ceremony became deeply rooted in politics, culture, and religion in Japan, and even beyond. For Chado was more than just a tea ceremony back then. It was an ideology, a commitment of life for the sake of art. The fundamental principles of Chado were the basis for everything from architecture, philosophy, crafts, flower arrangement, ikebana, and cooking as well. From the 17th century and onwards, the practitioners of Chado ensured the continuation of the art by transmitting it to disciples who preserved it by memorizing and teaching the social and technical aspects of the ritual. Their descendants further codified and systemized the art, which was owned by the head of the household and passed on as an inherited form of wealth. After the Meiji Restoration and the end of the shogunate, the Japanese traditional arts came to be seen as a means by which the new rulers could spread the values of loyalty and service to the emperor. This trend opened the study of Chado to social classes previously excluded as well as to women. Chado was redefined as part of the role of mothers in raising future generations. In 1894, women were finally officially allowed to be certified to teach the tea ceremony professionally. Chado was seen as an acceptable way for women to earn income without compromising family or the relationship with their husbands. For young girls, it was seen as a great practice to prepare them for marriage. In the post-war era, much like other traditional arts stemming from the Edo period, the teaching of the tea ceremony came to be seen as a way to preserve Japanese cultural practices and values. On a side note, to see my related video about the evolution of the geisha as an art form, please check the link in the top right corner above. In this post-war era, Chado was elevated back to the rank of a prestigious activity for the wealthiest in society. Today, the tea ceremony is still regarded as a traditional way of preparing women for marriage. However, it has also evolved into a means for many women to seek independence beyond their roles as mothers and wives. This shift has transformed an art form historically dominated by men into one primarily associated with women and Japanese feminism. The history of the evolution of Chado or the tea ceremony is fascinating. If you're interested in learning more about this topic, check out the article linked in the description box below. Now, let's talk about the most important ingredient for Chado, matcha tea, and where to find it in Japan. For a tea ceremony, only the highest grade of matcha is used. The tea plants used to make matcha are shaded for the last few weeks leading up to the harvest, which results in a dark green tea leaf that contains higher levels of chlorophyll. This means that the more artificial the green color of a matcha looks, the higher its quality. Some of the most prestigious matchas in Japan come from a small town called Uji, near Kyoto. Other renowned locations include Ise, Kagoshima, Matsue, and Shizuoka Prefecture, home to some of the most beautiful tea fields with Mount Fuji in the background. My personal favorite is Uji. When I first stepped off the train there during my visit, the scent of tea filled the air, a memory I will always cherish. Tours of these tea fields are organized by travel operators, so check with your local travel agents for more information. Returning to the tea ceremony itself, its essence can be captured in the phrase Ichigo Ichie, which means each moment only occurs once. This philosophy emphasizes being present in the moment, as each moment is unique and will never happen again. The main principles are wa, kei, sei, and jaku, meaning harmony, respect, purity, and tranquility. During a tea ceremony, participants focus solely on drinking tea in harmony with those around them, promoting mutual respect between each participant. The practice is akin to a form of meditation. Indeed, the act of drinking tea is really secondary to the experience of developing a profound awareness of the universe, making it also a practice rooted in Zen Buddhism. 9 utensils are used in Chado, highlighting the simplicity of the practice. I won't go into all the different steps, so I will link to a video in the description box below where you can witness a tea ceremony and understand more about the meaning of each gesture. If you're interested in participating in a tea ceremony lesson during your next trip to Japan, there's a couple of things you need to know. First of all, there are many places in Japan where you can partake in one. Kyoto is perhaps the most famous as the center of traditional Japanese arts. Also, over the recent years, several masters of Chado have started offering lessons in their own home to tourists. During this lesson, you will be introduced to the various types of tea and the different instruments used to prepare it. Then, your instructor will teach you how to prepare a hot bowl of ceremonial matcha with all the different steps involved. A typical lesson lasts around 45 minutes and costs roughly $20 per person. I will link to 2 websites where you can book this activity in Tokyo and Kyoto in the description box below. Pro tip, when you participate in a tea ceremony, make sure to bow at your host prior to drinking your tea to avoid offending them. Before drinking, you will also want to turn the most colorful side of the bowl towards your host. This is a sign of respect, allowing the other person to see the most beautiful part of the bowl as you drink. If your schedule is tight and you don't have much time, tea ceremonies are also offered at tea houses in most temples in Tokyo and Kyoto. This experience is usually shared and less personalized, but for $10 you can enjoy a bowl of hot steaming matcha with wagashi, an assorted Japanese sweet used to balance the bitterness of the tea. In conclusion, the Japanese tea ceremony is much more than a way to prepare and drink tea. Its history evolved from a ritual practiced essentially by men to a route of emancipation for women and Japanese feminism. It is a profound cultural ritual that embodies the essence of Japanese aesthetics, philosophy, and spirituality. Thank you so much for joining me today on this exploration of the rich history of Chado. I hope you have found inspiration in this philosophy of harmony and respect of others. If you have partaken in a tea ceremony in the past on one of your travels to Japan, share your experience in the comment section below. I would love to hear about your experience. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe for more travel insights into Asia and Europe. I will see you in the next one.